So after you do the TPS reports, I want you to make a list, and that would be great.
I was thinking, there are many reasons why working in an office is absolute garbage, and I speak from experience, having worked in a big one with lots of staff turnover and a small one where it's so stiff people would apologise for making too much noise when they typed, doing their actual job. So what are my top 5 reasons working in an office sucks harder than a morbidly obese individual trying to get the last of the treacle out of a squeezy bottle? Well, bog off to the description where I've linked an Excel sheet with the reasons and their cumulative score from peer surveys. No, not really, but there is a limerick about offices. Number 1, they're shit. More specifically, they look shit. I mean, has anyone ever been into an office and thought, yeah, honestly, and not comparatively, this would be a really nice environment to work in? Even the plasticated plushness of places like Facebook Amiga Command or Google's Orbital Artillery platform, touted as being the pinnacle of office environments, look like rehabilitation centres for paedophiles who've passed stage 1. Most offices look like they've been drawn by a man who's had a very specific part of his brain removed, or the sort of robot who can consistently make a perfect cup of coffee that tastes uncomfortably off because it will never understand love. But the colourless repetition of cheap furniture, thin grey blue carpet, fluorescent light bulbs, and the odd calendar of racing cars and the Muppets pretending to shag, or sunsets a man who paints 50 Christmas cards a day made, brought in by the office knobhead, is nothing compared to the inverse beacons of hope who spend most of their waking lives either at the office or thinking about it. I only worked in 2 offices fine, but I've been in dozens, and unless you work in the office of foreign assassinations or your part of the floor is occupied by obsessive attention seekers, and even then, I think they're all the same, although granted sometimes the dynamic does change. In the small office I worked in, the girl with a sense of humour left and I was stuck with 2 deactivated automatons, meaning I had to form a bond with a coffee machine and do some actual work. The people can be the saving grace of an office, but they can also be the equivalent of lining your clothes with washing powder and wearing it, irritating to the point where you might accidentally pull your own skin off. You've got your holier-than-thou administrator who prides herself, and I'm stereotyping here, on being efficient at organising things and snapping at people who aren't punctual or good at colour-coding databases but has no actual skill or talent other than filling in a diary. You've got your shirker, the guy who just nods and says yes and you never see doing anything but seemingly must be doing something because he's not been fired and is that alcohol I smell? Your softly type who's going to be offended by anything Jimmy Fallon wouldn't say and you might never know anything about without prying open with a social crowbar. The one-upmanship guy, usually IT but could be from anywhere, constantly proclaiming he is the best at everything, especially dating invisible women, stinks of BO even though his hair is still wet from the shower he had 25 minutes ago. The wannabe alpha who cycled here and is such a natural leader he's working in somebody else's office. And the ultimate office horror, the one that wants to be here. Not as a stopgap, not because they need a job, not because it sucked them in, but their preferred life is to work their way from desk junior to desk senior to assistant regional manager. But all those people are about 20% of who you come across. Most people who work in an office, and myself included, belong to the demographic I like to affectionately call office sludge. They know it's shit, that the boss is looking after his own back and that the company would replace them with an algorithm in a heartbeat if it could, but they need the money and to them it beats cleaning toilets, or at least it pays better. I think I'd probably take a toilet cleaning job any day over going back to having to read another weekly update about the great work Dale's been doing with legal. Fuck off, Dale, no one likes you, and stop pinning pictures of your dog to the notice board, it looks like a rat! That's the third reason, it sucks you in like any work does and makes you postpone doing something else because there's always a promotion or a pay rise or something. And why go and study to be a doctor or start your own business or leave to write an unpublishable novel about a wolf that thinks he's a man when you can just stay at the office forever and ever? Always there for you if you're always there for it, a room where the lights are always on and the coffee's always hot, the work's the same, the pay's on time, it's a nice temperature, a place where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came and you want to be where all the work's the same, where everybody knows your name. But truly, unless it's an office filing paperwork for people who've had their houses erroneously demolished brick by brick or completing TPS reports that'll save the panda, it's all meaningless. Yeah, sure, the good people at Halliburton need to get paid on time, and of course you need to document all those landmine sales and how many senators have been chipped or cloned. But really, it's not important, is it? And fine, maybe most work isn't important on the scale of the universe where in galactic milliseconds Trump and Clinton will be long forgotten and in a few hours the Milky Way will just be a few remaining vapours. But if it's not important, at least make it interesting. For God's sake, I've had Mondays where death by Mau Mau looks more attractive than going into work. The most obvious reason working in an office is the equivalent of deciding to kill yourself through paper cuts and drive you to suicide it might, is how utterly boring it is. Lots of work might be meaningless, but at least somewhat fun. I used to work nights moving office furniture from one soulless grey room to another slightly danker soulless grey room, but at least the monotony was broken up by people making fart jokes and dropping filing cabinets on each other's feet. By the way, Lee, I'm really sorry about that, but they have ramps everywhere now, mate, so no hard feelings. I could go on, having to pretend you really need 40 hours a week to do this crap when sorting out the filing system and working from home could easily knock it down to 2.5. Not being able to wear ripped jeans or rollerblades, and I don't understand why I can't wear lip gloss. The Christmas party, the secret fucking Santa, who thought that was a good idea. Social days out, any office mixer, the photocopier that rolled off the assembly line when Bill Gates was still a tadpole and Kermit's bollocks, eating lunch at your desk, the bathrooms, the smell. Anyway, thanks for listening, that was great, but I've got to go. I've got a conference call on my commute and a meeting first thing, so why don't you leave a comment and I'll get back to you in 2 to 5 days with a generic reply that suggests I read your message after covering my screen with Vaseline. Just a thought. Mr. Lundberg told me to talk to payroll, and payroll told me to talk to Mr. Lundberg, and I still haven't received my paycheck, and then he took my